Well, hey there, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Or if you are new to the channel, welcome to the channel. So, we're up to 1999 for the memorable playoff series. And I looked at all the different series that I could have picked. And there was only one. There's only one I could pick. And of course, it was the 1999 Stanley Cup Final between the Buffalo Sabres and the Dallas Stars. This series definitely memorable for unfortunately one big reason, which we will get to as we go through this series. But we start out here, 1999. This was the first year that the NHL expanded from 4 divisions to 6. They went to 6 divisions. In this particular year, it was the first time. It was the first time they went to 6 divisions. They would eventually, of course, go back to 4, and we'll see if there becomes 34 teams or even maybe 36 teams in the next few years. If they go back to 6 divisions, we'll have to see. But this year in 1999 was the first year they went to 6 divisions. And the Buffalo Sabres, of course, they finished 3rd in their division. And Dallas, of course, they ended up winning the President's Trophy. Now, the Buffalo Sabres, they finished with a record of 37, 28, and 17 for 91 points. Of course, it's an 82-game season. They, 91 points, not bad. Got them in the playoffs. And of course, the Dallas Stars in 82 games went 51, 19, and 12 for 114 points. So a darn good season for the Dallas Stars. Obviously winning the President's Trophy. But the road to the finals for the Sabres, they took on the Ottawa Senators in the conference quarterfinal, the Eastern Conference quarterfinal. They swept Ottawa 4-0. Then in the Eastern Conference semifinal, they beat the Boston Bruins 4-2. And then in the Eastern Conference final, they took out the Toronto Maple Leafs 4-1. So they make the Stanley Cup Final with a record of 12-3. Pretty darn good run, as of course they're being led by their incredible goaltender Dominic Hasek. The Dallas Stars, their road to the playoffs started with the Edmonton Oilers in the Western Conference quarterfinal. They, of course, swept them 4-0. So, they've got a couple things in common here, both of these teams. The Western Conference semifinal, they defeat the St. Louis Blues 4-2. So both teams beat their opponents 4-0 and 4-2 in the respective conference quarterfinal and semifinals. The conference final, though, the Western Conference final, it went the whole distance. It took 7 games for Dallas to knock out Colorado. So they knock out the Avalanche 4-3. That gives them a record of 12-5 entering the Stanley Cup Final. Now, the Stanley Cup Final, of course, again, another series I remember watching very, very intently. And yeah, so let's go through this. Game one, Dallas scores. Dallas gets the first goal of the Stanley Cup Final. At 10:17 on the power play, it's Brett Hull from Mike Modano and Yuri Lettinen. So that makes the game 1-0, and that's how the first period ended. It ended 1-0. There was no score in the second period. In the third period, Buffalo ties the game. At 8:33, it is Stu Barnes from Joe Juneau and Richard Schmelik. So it's 1-1. Then at 13:37, Buffalo takes the lead. On the power play, it's Wayne Primo from Alexei Zhidnik and Richard Schmelik. So that makes it 2-1. Then Dallas, in the last minute of the game, they tie the game. At 19:11, it's Yuri Lettinen tying the game unassisted for Dallas, makes it 2-2. We go to overtime. In the first overtime at 15:30, Buffalo, they steal game 1. It's Jason Woolley from Curtis Brown, 3-2 in favor of the Buffalo Sabres. They steal home ice advantage. Dominik Hasek makes 35 saves on 37 shots for a .946 save percentage in the game. Ed Belfour stops 21 of 24 for an .875 save percentage. Now, the previous series in 1998, oddly enough, I did Buffalo in that one, and where the Sabres, they came close to the Stanley Cup Final. They lost in that conference final to the Washington Capitals. Just 1 year later, there they are. So in game 2, can Dallas, avoid going down 2-0? Yes, they do. There's no score in the first period for game 2. Into the second period, on the power play, Buffalo strikes first. It's Mike Pekka from Jason Woolley and Miroslav Shatan. And yes, it is spelled Satan, but it's pronounced Shatan. So it's 1-0. Then at 18:26, Dallas ties the game. 18:26, Jamie Langenbrunner from Richard Matvichuk and Joe Nieuwendyk. So it's 1-1 after 2 periods. Then into the third period, Dallas takes the lead. At 4:25, it is Craig Ludwig from Brian Screwland. 2-1 in favor of Dallas. Then, a little over a minute later on the power play, the Sabres tie it. Alexei Zhidnik ties the game at 2 apiece. Then, at 17:10, Dallas takes the lead. This ends up being the game-winning goal. At 17:10, it is Brett Hull. You'll hear his name as this goes on. You'll hear his name toward the end for a particular reason. He scores what ends up being the game-winning goal from Tony Herkus and Sean Chambers. That makes it 3-2. And then at 19:34, into the empty net, it is Darian Hatcher from Sergei Zubov and Mike Keane. That makes it 4-2 in favor of the Dallas Stars. They tie the series. Dominik Hasek stops 27 of 30 shots for a .900 save percentage. Ed Belfour stops 19 of 21 for a .905 save percentage. So right around .900 for both goaltenders in the game. Not bad. We go into game 3. Game 3, we get into that. There is no score in the first period. But in the second period, Buffalo strikes first. It is Stu Barnes at 7:51 from Schmelik and Brian Holzinger. 1-0 Buffalo. Then, at 15:33, Dallas ties the game. It is Nieuwendyk from Dave Reed and Jamie Langenbrunner. Makes it 1-1. So it's 1-1 after 2 periods. Then, in the third period, Dallas. Dallas scores what ends up being the game winner. At 9:35, it's Joe Nieuwendyk from Langenbrunner and Reed. 2-1. That is your final. Dallas takes a 2-1 series lead. Ed Belfour only faced 12 shots. 12. Insane. 12 shots. He stopped 11 of 12 for a .917 save percentage. Dominik Hasek stopped 27 of 29 for a .931 save percentage. 12 shots. I don't know how many games you're going to win with only 12 shots in a game. But, it was not pretty. It's one thing about Dallas. Their defense ended up being pretty good here in these last couple of games. Game 4, though, Buffalo, they get back into the series. In the first period, scoring first, Buffalo gets on the board first. At 8:09, it is Jeff Sanderson, unassisted, makes it 1-0 Sabres. But then at 10:14, Dallas ties it right back up. It is Yuri Lettinen from Modano and Hatcher, 1-1. So it's 1-1 after the first period. Then in the second period, Dixon Ward gives the Sabres the 2-1 lead. at 7:37, and that's that. That's it. That's the final. There's no scoring in the third period. Buffalo hangs on for a 2-1 victory. Ed Belfour stopped 16 of 18 shots, so they only allowed 18 shots in Game 4 to the Dallas Stars, while Dominik Hasek stopped 30 of 31 for a .968 save percentage. Insane. 16 to 8, only 18 shots. So they only got 12 shots, did the Sabres in Game 3, only 18 shots in Game 4. Crazy. Game 5, though. We get to Game 5, and Dallas, of course, they get, they take that lead back. In Game 5, no scoring in the first period. Second period on the power play at 2:33 or 2:23. It's Daryl Sador from Modano and Zuboff, 1-0 Dallas. That is the end after two periods. Then in the third period, at 15:21, it's Pat Verbeek from Matt Vajuk and Modano gives Dallas a 2-0 lead, and that's your final. Dallas shuts out Buffalo 2-0 in Game 5. Dominik Hasek stopped 19 of 21, and Ed Belfour stopped all 23 of his shots. So Hasek had a .905 save percentage. Belfour, of course, a perfect 1,000 save percentage for a shutout. And that puts Dallas up 3-2. And now we get to the game. The big part of this series. Game 6. In the first period, Dallas strikes first. At 8:09, it is Lehtinen from Modano and Ludwig gives the Stars a 1-0 lead. In the second period, though, at 18:21, Buffalo ties it. Stu Barnes from Wayne Primo and Alexei Zhidnik, 1-1. And that's the score through the end of regulation. No scoring in the first overtime, no scoring in the second overtime, but then at 14:51, a goal that by rule should not have counted. It should not have counted, but it did. Brett Hull from Yuri Lehtinen and Mike Modano. Brett Hull's foot. Now, at this time, they had a rule where your foot could not, if a goal is scored and the opponent and that opponent's, if a goal is scored by the team, that particular team, if there is a skater with a foot in the crease, the goal should not stand. Well, at this time, this is a Stanley Cup winning goal. So, the celebration, all that, nobody's really thinking anything. I remember watching it, and I remember after the cup is awarded, they skate the cup, they go back to the locker room, and I remember the announcers went and said, the Buffalo Sabres are furious because they don't think that goal should have counted. And I still remember this. I believe it was Gary Thorne who went and said, and I think they may be right. And then they go back, they show the replay, and they talk about the crease rule. Your foot cannot be in the crease. And they show there's Brett Hull's skate in the crease, and he knocks in the goal. And nobody was thinking about it at the time, which now you have the reviews, and that they take place a lot quicker now. And I think they tried to go and say that the puck came out of the crease and Hull didn't exactly have control. He regained control and knocked it in. Something that they I can't remember exactly what they had said for a reason, but I go back and I look at that and I'm like, yeah, that, and this is me, that goal shouldn't have counted. It should not have counted. Now, I don't know, nobody will ever know if the Sabres would have ended up scoring and forcing a Game 7. Nobody will ever know. But the very next year, after that goal is scored, they changed the rule. So even the NHL knew, yeah, we awarded the Stanley Cup on a goal that shouldn't have counted. And yeah, they had some serious egg on their face. The Buffalo Sabres fans, of course, they still to this day talk about that. And how that goal should not have been a goal. I don't think it should have been a goal either. By rule, by the way the rule said, that shouldn't have been a goal. But it counted as a goal. The Dallas Stars win their first ever Stanley Cup, their first and only Stanley Cup to date. And yeah. And Conn Smythe winner that year went to Joe Nieuwendyk, who had 21 points in the 99 playoffs. He had 11 goals and 10 assists for 21 points. And he was your Conn Smythe Trophy winner for playoff MVP. And yeah. So the Dallas Stars win the Stanley Cup 4-2 on a goal that technically should not have counted, but it did. And yeah, so Dallas wins the Stanley Cup. Let me know what you guys think about that series in particular. You know, what do you remember about that series? Like I said, I looked through all the different series to try to figure out what one I could review and what was one of the most memorable. I'm like, well, I have to do this one. This one, it was the only pick I could. It was the only pick I could make to go back and review this series. It was the only pick I could make, and I did find my old. Now, needless to say, this thing is very, it's one thing about CCMs back in the day when they did the sublimation and that they made these ones fit kind of snug. So this one definitely fits kind of snug, and it's really short. But the Dallas Stars, they win the Stanley Cup in 1999. This series was definitely memorable. Let me know what you guys think. Your opinion. Should the Brett Hull goal in Game 6, should it have counted? Should it not have counted? Let me know in the comment section. I'd love to hear your guys' opinion on that. Of course, I have mine saying that it should not have counted and they should have kept playing. Like I said, does Buffalo end up tying the series? Do they end up winning the game and forcing Game 7? Whoops. We'll never know. So let me know your guys' opinions here. What do you remember mostly about this series? And, it would be awesome if you would hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, let your friends know, tell your friends about the channel. You want to share this video or any other videos from this playlist or any other video from the channel. If you want to share that with friends, with family, go right ahead. That would be incredibly awesome. And yeah, so the 1999, the memorable series for 1999, the 1999 Stanley Cup Final, the Buffalo Sabres going down to the Dallas Stars, and yep, Hull's skating the crease. Let me know what you guys think. I will see you guys later.